Hey everyone, it's Sensei Victoria Whitfield from NaturalIntuition.com, welcoming you back to episode 24 of the Journeypreneur Podcast, your source for channeled holistic stress management techniques, guidance, inspiration, and motivation on your path to rapid financial ascension as a conscious entrepreneur. So the title of this episode is The Day We Bent Reality, My Origin Story. I'm excited and a bit fluttery in the heart to get to share with you my story of how I got into all this. And I get this question all the time when I'm on interviews, right, or when I'm meeting people for the first time, new business contacts, and they hear that, okay, so awesome, you're a Reiki Master, but for businesses, so okay, I kind of get it, where like a Reiki Master, moves and shapes ambient healing energy through people's bodies and their emotions, right, or maybe even their houses. You move and shape ambient energy through that, but especially through people's businesses and their mindsets as entrepreneurs. Got it, right? So okay, Victoria, you're the first in the world to apply these Reiki principles and practices, but to the entrepreneurial lifestyle and entrepreneur people. But why? What in the world? Where does that come from? Why would you do that? Why would you even care? And that's a really good question, and this is something that I've had to have a ready answer to over the years. And by the way, shout out to all of you who are trying to write your story, maybe for the first time, if not better than before. It's a journey. It's a journey, right? Because there's so many things that happen in our lives, and we think, well, if you want to know what's my origin story, let me tell you my whole life story, right? But before I get to my story, just some pointers for those of you if you're writing your own. For one, what's helped me, and these are oh my gosh to me. So maybe this isn't oh my gosh to you, but this is oh my gosh to me. The origin story, when someone is networking with you or meeting with you to hire you and that type of thing, and they ask you, so what's your story? Like, why do you do what you do? Tell me about how you got into this in the first place. That's not asking you your life story. They're asking you for just what triggered this, right? So just what inspired your business. What's the story that inspired who you are showing up as today in the interview or whatever. It's not like your whole life story was like, well, I was born in Livingston, New Jersey, and, my mom was, no. They don't want to know that. They want to know the story behind why you're there. I always thought I was I would go to my attack or something. I don't know what the heck I'm supposed to be saying. But no, that's not, for those of you who are writing your story, I just want to share, for me, that's where I would go. I would go all the way back to the beginning, and then, what's even worse is that being an energy person, you're like, well, what about my past lives and all of the energy stuff? No. Just, what formed you in the role that you have and are showing up today? What makes you an expert, essentially? And that's a sticky word to get behind, but it's helpful for focusing. And an expert, I would like to define as someone who knows without a shadow of a doubt that they know something. Doesn't have to be anything complicated. You don't have to do differential equations or know how to do astrophysics or quantum, calculations or something like that in order to be an expert. You could be an expert in how to open that doorknob. Right? Because I might be struggling. Like, I have this one mug that it's actually right next to me as I'm speaking now. When I first got it, I'm like, this mug is impossible to open. I have no idea how to open it. Like, I'm turning it. I'm like, it is sealed, vacuum shut. And so I go to my housemate, RV, and I'm like, RV, oh my gosh, can you open this coffee mug? Now, here's the thing. He owns a coffee shop. He actually owns a chain of coffee shops. So guess what? He is an expert in coffee mugs. I'm like, I didn't even think of that at the time. I was just like, somebody help me. I want to open this thing. But he happens to be, he's like, oh. He looked at it 2 seconds and pulled the top off. He's like, don't turn it. You have to pull it, right? He was an instant expert to me. My head exploded. And I'm like, whoa, right? Simple. He's an expert in coffee mugs. And he's been in the coffee business for 30 years. Did it take him 30 years to open a mug? No, but he's seen plenty of different models, right? And all of that. And he did kind of have to pull really hard, but he got it open the way that it was supposed to be open. So anyway, you could be an expert in opening the door, but there's an expert is someone who knows that they know something without a shadow of a doubt. And not in an egocentric way of like, oh, I'm better than you. It's like, yeah, no, I know how to do this. I know that this is true. Can't nobody tell me nothing. And where I come from, that's how we say it. Or can't nobody tell me nothing about this. Can't nobody tell me nothing about Reiki. I know this, okay? I know that. Can't nobody tell me nothing about no energy or anything like that. I understand. I know this without a shadow of a doubt. And so when you're writing that story, it's about what are you the expert in? What do you know something about? Doesn't have to be complicated. Could be opening coffee cups. So that really helped me in writing my origin story originally. Like what to focus on. What story in particular from my life to tell. And so here's the thing. This story is my experience. So when I share it with you, I'm going to own it. This is what I saw. You don't have to believe what I tell you, but I know my life, and I know the witness who was there with me. She knows me my entire life. What we saw was what we saw, and this was the day that we literally bent reality in front of our eyes. So when someone asks me, Victoria, how'd you come to be a business Reiki Master? And I had to get into all this energy stuff. I said, well, here's the thing. One day, I had an experience that was a defining moment in my life. It completely changed the way that I look at myself, the way that I look at reality. And the thing that happened that day, I will never forget. And it is the one reason why I've dedicated the rest of my entire life to this energy practice, to this energy stuff, right? This right here is what did it for me. So I had just gotten, I was out of college, and I had this awful breakup where it was the type of breakup I had been with this one person who was like the most meaningful romantic relationship of my life, but unfortunately I had formed a codependent relationship with him. So it was the type of breakup where when you break up you lose your identity. Like I was so bad that I didn't even know really who I was. Like super toxic, really low, crying all the time, didn't know what I wanted to do with my life. I was just down, broken. It was also a betrayal-based breakup. This person had cheated on me and, like, ran away with the other person to get married to them. And it was just like, and the other person who cheated on me was my coworker. So just like a deep betrayal, and shattering of my identity. And so my mom, who is, like, she is such an incredible friend to me, like, amazing. I have an amazing relationship with my mother. She was like, all right, baby, let's go apple picking, right? She's trying to cheer me up, doing an activity. And we went out that day. We had set it in advance, and we're going, and it's raining a little bit. Like, it's overcast. It's a really awful day to be out apple picking, actually, where it's not really raining, but it's kind of like the sky is spitting on you. Like those weird little sprinkles, and it's overcast and kind of dark. So there was no one at the orchard. It was just really me and her and the owners. And this huge, huge orchard. But what was interesting is that as we're walking through the orchard, they tell you that you pick the apples, any of them, you try it, and if you like it, put it in your like little holdy thing, your bushel thing, or if you don't like it, just throw it on the ground. And so we're tasting these apples, and like the fresh, cold rain is amazing. Like the energy and the taste and the freshness is at another level because it's raining. So we're like excited and walking through and tasting all these apples. We're going farther and farther out, and there's so many different kinds of trees to taste. And I feel the safest when I'm out in nature. Like ever since I was a little girl, I would even, how some kids have, they have imaginary friends that they talk to. Well, my imaginary friend was actually the sky above. The sky I would talk to and imagine it would speak back to me, and I just felt so comforted looking at the clouds in the sky. So I had always this intimate relationship with the sky. It was something that was even like a spiritual relationship that I had. Even part of how I commune, like when I pray, like I think of the sky, and I look up to it. So this was such a nourishing, it was like hitting every spot that I needed. It was filling my soul, being out there on this like kind of crappy but incredibly energetic day. And there's, as you're walking through the grass, sometimes the grass overgrows over a hole that like you can't see it, but it looks like it's flat, but it's not. So my mother was talking, and all of a sudden she slips, and her right ankle twists into this hole. Her apples go flying through the air, and she screams. I'm like, oh my God! And looking down at her right ankle, she like fell down, but had her hands hovering nearby her ankle on either side, not touching it, but almost as if she was like holding the air around her ankle. And it was out of place. It was, oh my gosh, the color changed. You could tell that it had come out the joint. The skin didn't break, but man, it looked really bad, like a really bad sprain, and it was getting thicker and more inflamed as we were looking at it. And I'm like, oh my God, Mom, let me go and let me go get help. I'm going to go get help. And this is what changed my life. She said, no, you're going to heal me. And I'm like, you have got to be kidding. You're obviously panicking because you are in an extreme amount of pain. I'll be right back. I will run as fast as I can. She said, no, you are going to help me. You're going to heal me. Figure it out. And she's like there, kneeling on the ground, holding the air around her ankles. And I'm like, oh my gosh, she's not going to let me run and get help until I do something. I'm like, okay. And so here's where everything changed. So I knelt down and I just kind of mirrored her stance. Knelt down next to her, held the air around her ankles. And in that moment, a bit of desperation and just trust, I looked up at the one thing that I had the deepest relationship with. It felt pretty strong in the moment, the sky. I looked at the sky and I said, sky, please come down and heal my mother. And here's what happened that changed the course of my life. I felt / intuitively saw a bolt. It felt like a bolt of some sort of clear lightning come in an instant down through the crown of my head, down my spine, down through my arms, out of the palms of my hands, down through my mother's ankle, out of the soles of her feet and into the ground, like BAM! Right after I asked. And at the same time that I felt / internally saw that, her ankle, without either one of us physically touching it, said, click, click, adjusted itself. The whole joint went back into place. All of the swelling went down. We were watching it with our own eyes. The color changed. It was like, what? It was like in the movies or something like that. It was right in front of our face. It was like click, click in a moment. And then I had this overwhelming feeling in my stomach of, oh my gosh, she's fine. Tell her to get up. She's fine. Tell her to get up. And so out of my mouth, I start saying to my mother, Mom, you're fine. Get up. Your ankle's fine. Let's go. And she's looking at me like, what did you just do? Like I have 3 heads. I'm some alien from outer space. What did you do to me? And I'm like, stop looking at me like I'm crazy. This is what you asked for. Get up. And so we leave our apples on the ground, whatever. And like I lift her up and she's like gingerly trying to put her foot on the ground, and I'm like, you're fine. You're fine. Let's go. It's healed. I don't know why, but I feel like you're perfectly fine. And she's just stunned, but we start to walk a little. At first she was favoring her ankle, but she's like, you know what? Yeah, it doesn't hurt anymore. But she just had all of the emotional shock. And it was about at least a half a mile to walk to the front of the orchard. We were deep in there. So we're walking, and the only bench was at the front. So we finally get there, and I sit her down on it. And I'm like, can I now go ask these people to, like, call an ambulance? She's like, no, go get the apples. I'm fine. And I'm like, are you sure? She's like, yeah, go do it. And so I ran back, came back with, both the buckets or whatever you call them of apples that we were carrying. And she's walking around like nothing's wrong, talking to people. And she's like, all right, I paid. Let's go home. And I'm like, did they call the ambulance? She's like, no, well, I'm fine. I'm like, are you sure? That's your driving foot. And she's like, yeah, it was an hour drive. So she's like, yeah, I'll be fine. And so we start driving. And she's like, I feel perfectly fine. And Victoria, I don't know if you've ever heard of this, but I think you should study Reiki. Because I don't know what happened right there, but I think Reiki would really help you to harness that. I think you have something special. And that was what completely I was supposed to be an English teacher. I was supposed to be like a high school English teacher for the rest of my life. None of this energy stuff. That day was it. That day was it. Fast forward a few years, deep into my Reiki practice, I'm sharing healing energy. And a coach of mine said, look at all of the people who you are serving. Notice what's the common denominator. And 100% of them were entrepreneurs. Right? And the stuff that we were working on was related to the stress of owning a business. Right? And being a conscious person, owning a business. And lo and behold, now, that's what birthed me as the world's first business Reiki Master. But that is my origin story. That's how, when people ask me how'd you get into this? Why do you do what you do? That right there, that was the day that changed my life, because we bent reality where there was a circumstance of her ankle was complete, like it was out of joint, out of commission. That's like, you should have been in the hospital. And by the way, she did see a doctor afterward and she was completely cleared. They're like, I don't know why you're here. And under our eyes, we watched the situation completely turn around and bend to the will of what we asked. Sky, please come down and heal my mother. And boom, it did. If that's possible, what else is? Right? So, without a shadow of a doubt, I know that energy is everything, and energy is something that is very real, although it may be, to some people, not visible to the eye. To others, we've seen some stuff, like myself. Now, I don't see bones resetting all the time. Like, that was the craziest thing I've witnessed to date. That was the craziest thing. There have been other miracles that I've witnessed, but that right there, that was the one that was like the knock over the head to say, all right, you are officially going to be focusing on this for the rest of your life. So that's my story, my origin story of the day that we bent reality, and the day that really set me, like that bone, set me on this path to be the world's first business Reiki Master. What's your story? What was your defining moment? I don't know if you saw like bones moving all over on their own and stuff. It might have been something completely different. But your story is your story, and I want to hear it. Go ahead to naturalintuition.com. Click on that contact button. Let's get on the phone and hear it so you can tell it to me. And if you need help uncovering your story, please know that I would be honored to help you clarify that and really ground it into your stomach and be able to own it with confidence of what you are truly an expert in. What do you know that you know? Let's work on that. Come on over to naturalintuition.com/contact. Jump on the calendar and let's discover that together. All right. Thank you so much I know these podcast episodes have been getting a little bit long, but it's so juicy talking to you. I hope you are appreciating this. I'm going to keep sharing all of my heart with you because I believe in you. You have something unique that this world needs now more than ever. And I hope that you remember that as you continue to grow yourself and to grow your purpose, please remember, don't lose that glow that you have, that belief, that spark, that twinkle in your eye of belief and joy. Please make sure to remember to enjoy the journey. All right, and I will see you in the next podcast episode. Mwah! Bye for now.